Everyone, Matt here from Docs Running, and today we're going to do a 100-mile review on the On Cloudboom Echo 3. So we've already done a written review, we've done a previous video, but I wanted to update you because I now have 101 miles on this shoe, and I will tell you on the box, On says that this shoe is supposed to last 4 marathons, so about, 104-ish, 105, 6 miles, and that's kind of where I am. And now I will tell you that the outsole piece has finally come off after using shoe goo on and off for about 20 miles. Yeah, now I'm just ripping through the outsole here, which we'll talk about in a second. So I wanted this shoe for a long time. I looked at it for a year. It's been on On's website in various places, and I was super curious to try this, especially after the last version, which was 275, didn't have a super foam, and was pretty disappointing, to be honest. And I was like, and I paid full price for that shoe. Luckily, we are lucky enough to have a relationship with On, and they were nice enough to send me a pair, which they sent me for free in exchange for a review, which didn't impact what my thoughts were. And I'm going to be very honest with you on this review, because have I enjoyed the 100 miles in this shoe? Yes. Is this a shoe that I personally would purchase? Probably not, unless I was looking for a very specific experience, and that's what I'm going to try to share with you today to help you figure out, is this $290 super shoe one that you should be looking at or one that you should move on from? So let's dive in again to the specs. I know we've talked about this before, but just to review, 7.6 ounces men's size 9, 6.6 ounces women's size 8. I don't have stack height measurement still, but I will tell you the stack height is very comparable to a lot of their super shoes, where I'd probably put the heel in the 39 to 40 millimeter range. They say a 9.5 millimeter drop. It kind of feels a little bit lower than that, but 4 foot somewhere between 30 to 32 millimeters in that range. You know, I would assume 30.5 based on the stack height or based on the measurements. But yeah, that's where we're going. It is 2 layers of Pebax foam, which is on Helion HF supposedly, and a full length carbon speedboard throughout the length of this. Very aggressive, similar design it looked like to the last version. Upper is super lightweight, and I will tell you, it over this entire time has fit a half size long or a quarter size long. So if you're between sizes, you might want to go down. There's one caveat though, be really careful, because there is a very sharp toe spring at the end here, which when I have worn really thick socks, try to get a feel of what that would feel like, my toes feel like they are extended. So if you do like that, just be, this is going to be a great option for you. If you don't like that, this might not be the best option, because the forefoot is the stiffest part of the shoe, and it is very, very stiff. And I would say that's kind of similar for the rest of the shoe, that it has a stiffer ride overall. It's definitely a Peba foam underfoot. It's just on the firmer side. I would compare it almost to something like the Rocket X from Hoka, where the foam is a little bit firmer. It's still snappy and fast, but it's just not something I would personally take for a marathon. It's still fun. It's still a fast shoe, but in terms of like really top end speed and more longer distance speed, it's not really worked for me. I had a 5K I was going to race the other day, and at the last second, I grabbed the Endorphin Elite from Saucony, because that's my go-to shoe, because I wasn't confident enough, because I saw a bunch of high schoolers. I didn't want to get my butt kicked. I won, thank goodness. But it's probably going to work best for a lot of people from the 10K to maybe half marathon. I'm probably going to max out at about 10K in this shoe, because yes, there's no stability methods in this shoe, very narrow platform here, but fortunately it's so stiff that it's actually held up pretty well for shorter distances. But if you have major stability needs, this is probably not going to work for you. I think I was able to get it because I've been really working on strength, and so I can handle this. But once I get 7, 8, 9, 10 miles, I'm starting to fatigue. So for me personally, it's probably going to be best for 10K. For a lot of people, probably 10K to half marathon. Again, because when I try to sprint in the shoe, it doesn't feel like it has as much as I would want from something like the Vaporfly or the Takumi Sen or something like that. Whereas when I'm trying to go at like marathon pace for longer effort, it does feel comfortable. Then it starts getting too firm long term. So I personally would go for something like the Endorphin Elite, Alpha Fly, something, Adios Pro 3 for sure, because I love that shoe. But it just kind of sticks in the middle. If you are a super fast elite runner, which I am not, you might do better in this, just because I feel like if you are able to put a lot of force to the ground, you're probably going to compress this a lot better than somebody like me that's going to scuff their heel and has a longer stride and kind of doesn't get very high off the ground despite having a longer stride. It's still a good shoe. It's still quick, but it's just not something that's, I think, working perfectly for my mechanics. It's still got 100 miles in it. Durability wise, I want to address this again, that On said it's going to last for 4 marathons, which is pretty much where I'm at. This thing is going to get shredded. The exposed outsole does get ripped up for someone like me. If you're super light on your feet and you don't have this problem, you're going to be fine. I will say the midsole was really perfect from about 50 to 75, 80 miles, where it started to soften a little bit. The heel is definitely softer than the forefoot. The heel has some of that bounce. I'm like, okay, this is a Piba foam. The forefoot's pretty firm, and it feels great to like get off of, but I think the slightly longer fit made me kind of pivot off a place that I felt like my calves got worked in this shoe most days. I know a lot of rocker shoes, Piba foams, feel like kind of take pressure off them. This put more pressure on. I think that's just because of how stiff the front of the shoe is. If you can put enough force to engage that, great. For longer distance, I can only maintain that for a certain amount of time. But durability wise, again, it was like that 50 to 80 mile range. It was like, it finally hit the sweet spot. And then after the last 20 miles, it just started to firm up again, where I was like, yeah, this shoe is kind of like, if the outsole is still durable, you could still get miles out of it, but it wouldn't be something I would choose to race from. So when they said 100 miles, I think that's the limit you're going to get, which is pretty disappointing for a $290 shoe, which add taxes in there is going to be over $300. So if you have money to burn, you're going to be fine, right? And you like a little firmer ride, you like a really stiff, firmer forefoot, that probably is going to work really, really well for you. For a lot of other people, I think there's some more affordable options that are probably going to be more responsive and will like have more like a resilience to the foam, more compression that you're going to like a little bit better. But if you're that elite person that really wants that snappier, firmer ride, this is probably going to do maybe a little better for you. Getting onto the upper, as I mentioned, it does fit a half size long. I did kind of get used to that, but again, I think the plate distance probably worked my calves maybe more than they needed to. The upper is super light. During the review, suggested it might fit a teeny bit wider. I really have to eat my words on that. It's got a relatively snug fit. It's a standard racing shoe fit. It's not super wide. It's not like bone-crushing narrow, but it's just a little snug. What kind of gets away from that is the upper has a little bit of softness and a tiny bit of stretch to it. It locks you down fairly well. The tongue is gusseted that holds you in, so the tongue's super thin, having an issue with. But as this thing is worn in, I started to get a little bit of heel slippage here. I didn't lace lock the shoe, but I have worked with the lacing to lock things down. But it's fairly, it's a soft upper. So if you're running in a straight line, it's going to be great, right? It's going to get out of your way and you're going to forget about it. The heel counter has never bothered me, which is really nice. There's a little bit of flexibility there. But if you want that really dialed in fit, this is maybe not the best thing, because those half size long still has kind of gotten in the way for me. And I'd love to try a size 9.5, but I'm personally not going to spend $300 on this shoe, especially with the amount of stuff that we get through. So I personally, if you can, try this in person if possible, or if you have the finances, order two size up and a size down, or your normal size and a size down. Just see which one fits you better, because I think being able to pivot off the forefoot correctly is really, really important. We know, and this is getting into the science side, that plates, all this stuff works together. Your pivot point off your first metatarsal phalangeal joint needs to work with the angle of the shoe. If you want that to get the most out of the plate and probably get something out of the foam too, the overall package. I'm probably not hitting this in the most efficient way because of that half size, and so for me, this is not going to be my shoe of choice. But if you really want to like this shoe, really make sure you get the fit locked into where it's going to be. I'd love to try the size 9.5. I'm not gonna, like I said, I'm not gonna purchase it myself, but that's kind of my warning to you after 100 miles. So in conclusion, is it a super shoe? Yes, most definitely. You have definitely got a super shoe now, unlike last year or the previous version. There's still some cleaning up that I think needs to be done in terms of the sizing, which is probably gonna be fine for some people. And it's on the firmer side, which is very traditional for On, but that's also gonna make it pretty niche if you're making a elite racing shoe. And $290 is really steep for a shoe that's pretty firm, and there's a lot of stuff out there that's going to be softer and probably fit a lot better for a lot of people. So yes, is it an elite shoe? Definitely. Can it go fast for 10K and a half marathon? Definitely. Can people take it to a marathon? Definitely. You're going to faster than me, right? Good for you on that one. But for me personally, I think there's some other options. I've really enjoyed running in this shoe. It's been a really great experience. And yeah, I'm just excited to see On moving forward. There's still work to be done, but On, good job. That's the 100-mile review of the On Cloudboom Echo 3. If you want to hear more of our thoughts, there's a full written review we've got on the website. There's a previous review that if you want to hear my earlier initial thoughts. But yeah, hope that helps, because I'm just out here trying to help you figure out if these shoes are going to be right for you or if there's something else that might do better.